I know that we have a long day ahead of us, and I know we have a lot going on, but I would greatly appreciate your attention for the next few minutes as I talk about this bill. My family, I've shared with you guys previously that my wife and I are foster parents, and we are now on the 3-week countdown of when our boys are going to be leaving our home. We've had them for over 15 months, and we're days away from saying goodbye. So this bill is about as personal and emotional as a bill can get for me. Senate Bill 741 is about balance, and it's about best interest. In order to accurately understand Senate Bill 741, you need to know the legislative history of it. So if you were to go back a few years, there are many in this body who worked vigorously to make a very wise decision about permanent placements of foster children. And they said that the Department of Human Services, when undergoing adoption proceedings for foster children, that they should greatly consider family as a long-term placements, to the extent it is in the best interest of those children. Wisdom and experience has taught us that the long-term outcome for children is usually best if they are able to be with family in the long term. At the time, the proponents of this bill had no idea that the implementation of these changes would go to such an extreme measure to, as at times, have a completely irrational exclusion of foster parents. What do I mean about that? I want to tell you the story of Lily in this picture behind me. Lily is almost 2 years old now. When she was 2 days old, she went into foster care with the Lower Ditches that you see above me. The Lower Ditches are the only family that she's really known. They've loved her. They've made her their own. They are her mother and father. The Lower Ditches have gone far above and beyond what the average foster family is capable of doing. They have reached out to Lily's biological mother and developed a mentoring relationship with her. They've been able to work closely with her. Then they've been able to have an incredible relationship with Lily's biological grandparents. They've developed such a relationship with Lily's mother that now Lily's mother, who is 7 months pregnant, has asked them to do a private adoption of Lily's younger sister, who's to be born here in a couple months, who will be named Faith. And they're moving toward that. This should be a happily ever after story. This is about as perfect of an outcome as you could ask a foster family to have. But unfortunately, the changes that were made a few years back were implemented in such a manner that the Lower Ditches have been told that they will not be considered as a foster or as an adoptive placement for Lily. You might ask why. Well, it so happens that in the implementation that DHS is supposed to consider family first, remember that's supposed to be to the best interest of the child, but in implementing that policy, it just so happens that Lily has an older brother. Her older brother is about 5 years old, and he was adopted by a family in California. This family, in the 9th hour, said, "We want Lily," even though they've had extremely little interactions with her. And per the policy to put family first, the Lower Ditches have been told they would not be considered as a long-term placement. That is the problem that this bill is attempting to address. Senate Bill 741, it starts with an assumption that is not in the bill. It starts with an assumption that the Department of Human Services will vigorously undergo the family findings process that they're supposed to undergo, so that children early on, when they enter into care, can end up with family. But we know that on occasion, there is no appropriate family to put them with. And so what this bill does is it says, in those occasions where a child has been placed with a non-relative family member, and that child has been with that family for over a year, And if after being with that family for over a year, that child comes up for adoption, this bill instructs the Department of Human Services to consider the adoptive placement, to consider the family that they've been with on equal footing with those relatives. It's not saying higher footing than those relatives. It's just saying, let's, as a department, let's, as an agency, please take these significant attachments into consideration when making these decisions. Don't hide behind a policy. Make the hard decisions, because there will be heartbreak somewhere. This bill is not about family rights. This bill is not about foster parent rights. This bill is about children. Children like Lily. So that when they start out life in a rough situation, we can do everything in our power to give them all opportunities to have the best possible outcome. I encourage your yes vote today on Senate Bill 741. Please help me to restore balance to a system that swung too far out of balance. Thank you.